I do want to speak now to two legal experts for legal analysis. Sean Wu, defense attorney, former federal prosecutor; Seth Berenzweig, business and compliance attorney. Important to have in situations like this. Thanks to both of you for coming. Sean, first to you. We're going to have a criminal trial, looks like, beginning on April 15th for the former president, current nominee, GOP nominee for president. Based on the evidence, is a conviction likely in this case?
I think it's very likely. The evidence is very strong. It's a documents case, and they can buttress it with at least two witnesses, maybe three, Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, who have been extremely consistent in what they have to say about this, and that'll really kind of bring the documents to light. So I think it'll be a very strong case for Alvin Bragg.
Seth, there's a question at the basis of this case, right, which connects a violation of state law to an alleged violation of federal law here. I'm not a lawyer here, but lawyers have told me that might be hard to prove in court, or will take some work. Do you share that view?
Well, I agree it'll take some work, but I don't think it's too much of a leap. This is the step-up theory to trigger a felony in this trial. It has to be a crime that is committed in order to conceal another crime. Of course, you have an allegation of criminal violations in terms of campaign finance contributions, but there's also, I believe, will be allegations with respect to tax fraud, which of course would be a federal violation as well. There's a big difference between compensating Michael Cohen for an out-of-pocket expense versus paying him salary for him doing his job in a sham disguised deal. So it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's not a long stretch. And I think, and I agree, this is a very strong case. Keep in mind also that Judge Merchan had the sentencing for Alan Weisselberg, who was the CFO, who was really behind the scenes pulling these fraudulent strings. So there's some clear common denominators going on here.
Shenwu, to the civil case now, the judgment cut in half, well, cut almost in a third there. Basis of that decision, from what you can tell, do you think it's a fair decision? And you and I were talking before we started. If you or I were charged, if we had to come up with $5,000, would the judge be likely to reduce it by, well, more than half?
I don't think it's really fair in the sense of if it was you or me, I don't think that they would have given us that lifeline. Substantively, it's not a risky decision. I mean, those assets aren't going anywhere. And so, to me, it makes more sense to give him some more time rather than actually reduce the amount he has to put up. And they did not really give us any clues as to their reasoning. I think for the Trump team, it's a lot of hope because they're thinking, oh, maybe they think that the overall award was too high and there'll be a way to cut it now. But we can't see any real reasons for why they reduced it.
Understood. There was something interesting in his comments, Seth. When he was asked if he would seek money from a foreign entity, Trump said you could do that, noting that, well, a lot of banks are based overseas, before he then claimed that he would need to do it. He's got so much money to do it himself. But that was notable. I just wonder, I mean, is that legal? Would it be legal for a candidate for president to take money from overseas to pay off a penalty in a trial in this country?
Well, I hate to give you a very lawyerly answer, but it depends.
Right.
So if it was Deutsche Bank or UBS, and they certainly have ties overseas, then I think that would be something where if the judgment was bonded on an appeal with something that originated from one of those well-known financial institutions, that would probably be fine. There are other financial institutions, perhaps, for example, connected to Russia, where it would be a problem and would in sum and substance also be a campaign finance donation, arguably because it's to head off a judgment in the heat of a political election season. So I don't believe it's really going to be a problem for him. As you've noted, this is a reduction of almost 2/3. It really is extraordinary. And not only that, of the $175 million, let's say, for example, he can put up half in cash, and then Deutsche Bank can put up the other half, or Chubb Insurance. So this is something that is a big win for him, certainly a day of different results for Mr. Trump in New York.
Shan, would there be national security implications to a candidate for office here taking money from a foreign entity to pay off, in effect, a domestic legal debt?
Oh, sure. I mean, people with a far lower pay grade have to have that financial check done to see if you're indebted because there's a concern that if you owe a lot to people, particularly foreign folks, that you might be compromised. So I think there is a concern. I think the problem is, what are we actually going to learn about where he gets the money?
Right.
At this amount, I totally agree with Seth. I don't think this will be too hard. But ultimately, if it's affirmed on appeal, he has to come up with nearly $500 million. I think that's going to raise a lot of concern.
Before we go, Judge Merchant, he rejected Seth Berenzweig the argument to delay the trial to review additional documents, but he did allow the defense to file a motion to delay on grounds of pretrial publicity and gave the DA's office a week to respond. Do you see that going anywhere as potentially pushing back this April 15th date?
That's going nowhere fast. That happened in the last minute or so of the hearing. Everybody was wrapping up and putting their folders away. And Mr. Trump's attorney did say, and you're exactly right, that he intended to file the motion. And after the judge set that quick briefing schedule, he said, I'll see you on April 15th. So yes, they will file it, and it will probably be denied. And one of the things that they've learned today is political rhetoric masquerading as legal theory in this court does not work.
Yeah, the judge has been very clear in his statements to that effect. Shan Wu, Seth Berenzweig, thanks so much to both of you.